Hi everyone. We are now going to start our Unit 1. Finally, we're out of Unit 0. You guys did stupendous on the test. I'm so proud of you guys. So here we're going to start with an introduction to living things. Your textbook, you'll be given a textbook workbook. You also have access to it through online through ClassLink, and then you click on Ed. I'm pretty sure your icon says Ed, and there you can get to everything that you could ever want in your textbook. And so what we're going to be doing is we will be taking out the pages out of your textbook, meaning we'll be tearing them out carefully, and then we'll be doing them as we go along and putting them in our 3-ring binder. The textbook pages are set up so that you can write on them and that you can also take notes on them. So as I do these PowerPoint slides, I'm going to ask you to do things like underline this, circle this, draw this picture out to the side, and that sort of thing. So here we go. The essential question to our first section in the textbook is to describe the necessities of life and the characteristics that all living things share. Don't usually use this computer, so I got to try to figure out how it's going to change slides. Oh, too many. And so just like everything we do in class, everything is tied to a standard. There are several levels of standards. There's a next generation science standards, which is a project designed to have all science curriculum aligned by 2023. That's this year. Woo! And then there are the state standards. You have the Georgia Performance Standards, which then got an updo or an upgrade to the Georgia Standards of Excellence. And then your district has a set of standards that tie into both of those, called the Fulton County Prioritized Standards. And so they're all the same thing, go over the same thing, just different ways to organize them. And so we are going to be working in S7, L1, A, and B for most of this unit. You're going to start out every section of the book by doing something called Engage Your Brain. Please do not look up the answers on Google. It's okay if you don't have all the answers correct on this part. This is to see what is in your noggin. Right now. So I don't care what Google says. I don't care what Siri knows. This is for you to be able to be reflective after you've done this lesson, to go back to this part and say, oh, I actually did learn something. So it's okay to get them wrong. So pause this video, complete your Engage the Brain page in your active reading, and then start the video back up when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to start out here in Share and Share Alike in our Lesson 1. And the essential question we have are, what characteristics, oh my goodness, do living things share? And so we ought to be able to do pretty good at this since we ourselves are alive. So we're going to talk about the characteristics of living things. And the first thing that your book talks about is that all living things are made up of cells. A cell is the smallest unit of an organism. Just like an atom is the smallest part of matter, a cell is the smallest part of an organism. And so it's always fun to, have a little humor. And so this comes from an artist, and it's just kind of funny. Some cells and organisms we can't see with our eye, meaning without using something to magnify them. And we talked about microscopes. This is a scanning electron microscope of the bacterium Staphylococcus aureus. Scanning electron in that it is a very expensive microscope, and we would have to go to a major university to be able to look at one. I need to not make these videos so late at night. And so Staphylococcus aureus is a bacterium that we could stain and look at with the microscopes we have at school if we had oil immersion lenses. This bacterium is actually growing on your skin right now. It's part of us. Its ecosystem is part of our person. No matter how much you scrub, try, Lysol, you're not going to get rid of it. And unfortunately for you, this is one of the main causes of pimples. So you can walk around now to all your friends and say, hey, you have Staphylococcus aureus? They're probably going to look at you weird, but that's okay. Weird is a compliment. One thing we got to look at when we talk about organisms is whether or not they're unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular organisms have one cell. Multicellular organisms have more than one cell. Prokaryotes is a word you're going to learn, and eukaryote is a word you're going to learn. Most bacterium and prokaryotes are unicellular. Some example of some eukaryotes that are unicellular are an amoeba on the left, and it moves around by pseudopods, meaning it pushes out its cytoplasm and then it kind of pulls along the rest of itself. And then it looks like we probably have a euglena maybe in the middle and a paramecium over on the right. Multicellular organisms are made of more than one cell. And so, of course, we are made of more than one cell, and we have many cells that are differentiated to do different things. And when we have a bunch of cells together, then we have a tissue. And when we have a bunch of tissues that work together, we have an organ. And when we have a bunch of organs to work together, we have an organ system. Oh, wait. This is not now. That's next semester. Stop. Go back. The picture on the upper left, you would think was a multicellular organism, but it's actually, oh my goodness, a colony of unicellular organisms. I won't try to trick you on a test. Well, maybe not with that picture. Okay, so now we're looking at our workbook pages, and in the lesson calendar, you're going to see this abbreviated as TBGN, Textbook Guided Notes. Anytime that you run out of space, the end of each lesson section, there are 2 blank pages for you to take notes on. So just keep that in mind as you go along. So number 5 asks you to categorize. You're going to see these words in blue, which are science words that you're going to see throughout the year. And these are words and skills that you need to start building to be successful in science. So it asks you to identify each organism in the picture as unicellular or multicellular. And so each picture has a place for you to mark whether it's unicellular and multicellular. And so you've got to look at the characteristics that you can see and make a judgment call. What do you think? So pause the video, fill out your check marks, and then come back to the video when you're ready. The next thing that we're going to talk about in share and share alike is response to the environment. Organisms have to respond to the environment they're in. If an amoeba is in water that's too warm, if it doesn't move to water that's colder, it could actually die. Just like us, we respond to the environment. When it's too hot outside, we either go inside or we sit outside and sweat. And sweat is a response to the environment. It's our body's attempt to cool down our internal temperature. So stimuli are things that organisms detect and respond to. So an image, the cartoon says, research to determine if yawns are cross-species contagious. Well, just saying it makes me want to yawn. Again, it's always good to have some humor. So stimulus is something that is going to signal a response in an organism. So this cartoon is a play on that Pavlov's dogs was an experiment where they would get, every time a bell would ring, the dog would get a treat. And so after a while, when the dog heard a treat, its mouth would water. Whether or not after a long time, it didn't get a treat. And so in this example, it hears ding, oh, I got mail. For us, it'd be, oh, I got a text message, or, oh, someone just liked my post. We have internal stimuluses. We can get hungry, and that tells our self that we need energy. Even the single-celled, looks like an amoeba in the bottom page, is responding to a stimulus in the environment. You can see it engulf the bacterium. And so that is it eating just like we would. So this is another pun, another comic. Hope you're giggling. The whole fight or flight. So that is us responding to a stimulus. Our autonomic nervous system usually kicks in when we're scared or in danger, causes adrenaline to flow, which causes our heart to beat faster and our blood vessels to dilate. And so that's a response to something we sense in our environment. It can be an external stimulus, meaning something outside of the organism. And so you can see on the bottom left, you can see that our one-celled protista can sense the food outside in the water environment and is using what it can to get the food inside itself. On the bottom right, you can see that the plants are responding to where the sunlight is. And we know that where the sun is based on which directions the plants go. Funny enough, that if we turned the light bulb around, the plants would then turn and move back to where the sun was coming from. Again, responding to something outside of the organism. Okay, now to number 6. This is a big thing in science education now. You will hear CER a lot, which means make a claim, use evidence to support your claim, and then explain or show the reasoning behind your claim. This is one of the main tenets of the next generation science standards. So take a minute, pause the video, and answer this question. Okay, now we're on to number 7. Number 7 asks you to infer. When you make an inference, you are making a statement based on prior knowledge and observations. So the sunflowers, nope, that's not a good example. Let me give you an example. You can hear people say all the time, oh, my joints, they're aching. It must be going to rain today. And they're basing that on that most of the times when it's getting ready to rain, that their joints ache. Same thing with, oh, it must be going to rain today. Look at all those clouds in the sky. Or those clouds are gray. And again, that's based on our prior experiences, and we're making a statement. Sometimes inferences are true, and sometimes they're not. So take a moment and fill in the responses that a dog might have to each of the stimuluses listed in the table. Do not use just one or two words. This is an opportunity to show off your science skills. So take time to actually think about it and write down a good, solid statement. Now we're on to number 8, and this is actually part of the next section, so I'm going to stop here.